Yo, what's up, guys? It's Jack Goes to Go. You either know or you don't. It's been a while since I've given you guys an offline video and thought this would be a nice short video about something that has garnered the interest of most of the Black Clover community. Before we get into it, thank you all for tuning into the video, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you do actually end up liking the content of this video. But today, I wanted to talk about Zetten, otherwise known as Heavenly Severance. In chapter 339, we were formally introduced to Zetten, where Ichika tells us that the amount of Yoryoku and its speed used to unleash the technique generates explosive power. I'm specific when I say that we were formally introduced to Zetten because I don't think it's a concept that's actually new to the series. The earlier instances of this technique may very well include things like Yami's Dark Cloak Dimension Slash, and possibly even explains the confusion behind Yami's newest attack, Death Thrust, as even he was surprised at what resulted when he initially tried out that attack. His main point of confusion was how it came out to be more of a cannon than it was a thrust. Yami, being one of the most conscious of Ki alongside Asta, tells me that he may have been manipulating his techniques with a slightly more advanced level of Ki, unbeknownst to him. Another instance could even be Asta's Infinity Slash. Asta's natural progression in learning Zetten tells me that even though he hadn't thought about using Ki in the way that Ryu and Ichika are detailing, it doesn't necessarily mean that he hadn't been using a more advanced application of Ki. In several videos on here and threads on Twitter, I've pointed out how Asta's fight with Liebe shows us that he learns techniques at a very fast rate. There are panels where we see the silhouettes of characters that he's fought and learned from as he strikes similar poses to them throughout the battle. At the very end of his battle, Liebe's done in by what seems to be a magicless death thrust, but of course, Asta has no magic and couldn't use anti-magic in that particular battle. Asta is definitely very strong physically, but to produce a battle-ending blow with the point of a katana is an extreme feat that hasn't been seen by Asta prior to that moment. It makes the most sense to chalk this up to Ki. Even Asta's Infinity Slash could be a product of Ki because we've seen that Yami's sword doesn't have its own magical attributes or abilities like Asta's other swords were made with, but to produce an attack much like Yami's Dimension Slash tells me that there is something within Asta that gives these attacks more special properties than what they were originally designed to do. For time's sake, I won't detail every single moment where Ki could be the explanation for some of the happenstances in this series, but there is plenty of room to argue some of Asta's most notable techniques may involve a higher application of Ki. But in the latest chapter, we learned that Zetten got its name from a user who split the sky. While I won't go into the idea of this person being Asta's dad, I will go into what I believe another application of this technique has given us that may even exceed one splitting the sky. What if Zetten can be used to split more than just objects and, in Yami's case, dimensions? What if it could split a person? And no, I don't mean their body, but their soul. This has been a large point of focus on this channel because twins and counterparts have played a massive role in the series. While I can't necessarily say for sure Zetten has been used to split a person's soul, we can of course have fun with this and theorize. We know from the videos on alchemical perfection that perfection comes from the splitting of the soul from the body without death and then putting them back together. This is something that seems to illustrate Asta and Liebe's relationship when they use Devil Union. Not to mention the fact that these two are very literally twins. I've been of the thought they are the same being but split somehow for a very long time now. I think that this technique was used on another person or used on one's own self for purposes unknown to us, as we do have Lucius and Julius who would also fit with this. It actually falls in line with what we have talked about in regards to the Kabbalah, where God himself is even split into two forces that we now know as the Sephiroth and the Klippot, where the divine God, or three veils above Keter, is the Ein Sephar, and the three veils below Satan are the dark antithesis of God, otherwise known as Lucifer. If we take Zetten and apply it in a way where a user of the technique uses it to split themselves, I can't help but wonder if Lucius has potentially used this to form the Dark Triad. Now, we've made many theories on the Dark Triad and their origins, and as we inch closer and closer to the end, we may have to be on the lookout for answers to some anomalous happenings in the series. We received this page during Yami and Dante's fight, where a few things are literally in question. On this information page, we have question marks in parentheses, meaning that this is not the true classification of the topics they are making comments on. The gravity magic and spatial magic are in question, meaning that while they can be described in this way, there is more than likely a more specific classification it could fall under. Not only are these attributes in question, but so is the fact that Dante, Zenon, and Vanica are siblings. We've gone over many things, from Lucius splitting himself 3 ways into the Jungian archetypes, and then most recently the siblings being split from the real siblings, who could possibly be Lily, Damnatio, and Lucius, where Vanica was made from Lily, Dante made from Damnatio, and Zenon from Lucius. As of now, it makes more sense that the Dark Triad were made from Lucius, Lily, and Damnatio, as it would make things far less complicated to write. It could be very interesting to find out that the reason for some of these split souls and bodies to have been due to a form of Zetten used to separate bodies as well as souls, and this could have been used to be able to create a perfect body, something that Lucius is striving toward as we speak, since we know that alchemically, the separation and the recombining of the soul and body is what gives us perfection. It's a small theory, but one that might be worth thinking about. But before I end the video, I do want to add one last theory to add on to this more formal introduction of Ki and Yoryoku. The way Ryu puts it, everyone uses their Ki with their magic power, which they call Yoryoku. Right now, it looks like we have a bit of an explanation of how devils work as far as magic and their powers go. We know that devils cannot use more advanced applications of their magic because they lack grimoires, but their magic power is more than enough to get them by. Right now, with the information we have, I believe that devils operate mostly off of Ki, almost exactly how we see it being used in Hino. While they may not use specific techniques like Zetten, it seems that they manipulate their Ki to use their magic power just as Ryu has detailed for us. In the case of Nama and Lilith, we may have even seen a case where devils have used their vital energies to turn into their power itself. Moreover, they could have also showed us that the energy could be used to combine the souls and bodies of 2 formerly separate beings. And of course, the lore of Nama and Lilith tells us that they are siblings, meaning that this could have been a way for Tabata to show us that souls and bodies that have been separated may in fact reunite to make a more perfect being. But seeing as how Nama and Lilith were both devils, it didn't create the ultimate being, in which one would have to be the dark counterpart and the other light. But I want to modify this theory a bit further. Like the people of Hino use Ki to increase their power, I would imagine that devils have something similar but not exact. Ki does imply that something has life force, and while Asta is able to read demonic Ki, the fact still remains that they do not have life force, so using Ki may not be something they can do. Instead, I think another very similar source of power could be better for them to use, and we've actually talked about this power source a lot already, especially when talking about our favorite devil and devil host, Belphegor and Dante. This power source is called Vril. There are videos on this channel that talk about this extensively, so I would suggest watching those but shortly. Vril is said to be the power source of dark elves, as well as the power source of demonic gods. This is a power that is everywhere, almost the opposite of Aether, where Aether is everywhere as a medium for all things in the universe. Vril lies between all things in existence and flows through them. Like Aether, it's a force that has extreme healing properties but can be very destructive. This also leads back to my video on the Antichrist being Lucius, because even real historical figures such as Hitler was actively in search in harnessing this power. Interestingly, in a book about Vril, They speak of meeting a race of people, they labeled as the Forgotten Humans, that had not only harnessed the power of Vril, but had apparatuses that looked like wings that helped them fly. This part reminded me of the wings of devils we see in Black Clover, especially when we see Lucifero's wings that turn into arms at his convenience. It would be a little wild to find out that the wings of some devils are more so tools than they are natural appendages, as we see devils like Zagrid and Magicula have specialized wings. Adramelech may even fall into this, as his wings do look different from what we typically see from devils. But even I can admit this would be a bit of a reach, but think about it. Devils not having any grimoires or scrolls because they more or less don't have souls can lend into them using a type of energy that amplifies their magic power, like the people of Hino use Ki to amplify their magic power. And just like Ki can be a standalone power, Vril may be one as well. That's all I've got for you today. I'd like to thank you for tuning into the video, and I will see you in the next one when we talk about the massacre of the Yami clan. This has been Jack Oates to Go. You either know or you don't.